Matt, listen, I got a question. I'm putting a vanity in, and I want to know how to plumb it through the floor. Can you help me? Sure, man. Thanks for checking out the channel. On today's video, I'm going to show you how to plumb a bathroom sink or a kitchen sink through the floor. So here's what I'm up against. This plumbing pipe comes up through the floor to drain my sink. And the way to plumb this is just as follows. So I'm going to run you through this. So in this case, the drain is inside the vanity. This pipe is a 2-inch pipe. So I go from my 2-inch to my 1.5 and 1.5, and I flip this up through the wall, and I vent this up and out in the attic. So in this configuration, I'm draining through the floor, and I'm venting up through the wall. So you got drywall on this surface, you won't see the vent go through the wall. And yes, this is the leg of my tripod. What happens to the water is that it's coming down through the sink, through the P-trap, and it goes down the pipe. And this air allows for the suction that's created when the water goes down the pipe. Instead of sucking the water out of the P-trap, which keeps your smells and your little spideys and stuff like that out of your sink, it pulls air from this pipe. So therefore, when the suction happens on the pipe, air comes in this way and doesn't allow the water to be pulled out of your P-trap. Alternatively to having that vent, you can put a cheater vent in. So you want this vent to be up against the underside of your counter. It works the same way. Another alternative to a P-trap like this one doesn't have much in terms of flexibility. You can go this way, and it doesn't matter if it's like this or straight, it doesn't matter. I mean, for visual purposes, I'm putting it like this, but it can go in any direction. If you want a little more flexibility, this one has a bit of play, so that might help you out. Also, if you were to, let's say, drop your wedding ring down the sink, the P-trap right here is likely where it's going to get caught. So it would go down the drain, and then you could twist this cap off, and the water would drain out of the P-trap, but you'd get your wedding ring back. So let me show you exactly how I did mine. Alright, our vanity's starting to look like Swiss cheese, but we're getting somewhere. So let's get the countertop back on and get this plumbing hooked up. When you're measuring, use a measuring tape. I know. Use a measuring tape to measure. You're welcome. When you're measuring, you're trying to rest it right on this collar in here. So right there. So it's about 3/4 of an inch or so, but that's where you want it to sit. So you want to have that entire surface to glue on. So when I'm putting the tape in the hole, I'm trying to rest it on that collar. So I've cut my piece of 2-inch pipe. A big thing that you want to do when you're putting in any drains is to deburr the inside of your pipe here. So when you're cutting it, and you shouldn't cut this with a chop saw or a miter saw or anything, the heat melts it and it's super toxic too. Either you cut it with a hand saw, or I have this little tool too. I'll show you how to use that after. But the burrs, what'll happen is any little hairs that come through the drain will get caught. So just take the little fuzzies off the edge. Alright, so slight change of plans. I had to make this 2-inch pipe shorter. So it's always important to dry fit. I wasn't able to put, once this pipe was in the hole, I wasn't able to put this guy on top because they're both on underneath this counter here. So let's drop you down a little bit and see if we can put this together. Oh, and if it stinks, it sucks, but it's a good sign. You know what that means? It's hooked up. But this guy is going to come right in here. And of course I got to lift my counter to get him in. If I can find the hole, I should be good at this. There we go. I got my fancy tool again. If I can find it on Amazon, I'll put it in the description. So it's got a little blade on the top side here, and you just put it right on top, and you just push it on, and you twist. And there you go. Got a nice clean cut. No burrs, no sharp edges. So you're good to go. So this guy, come back here and shoot back to the vent. So I'll give you guys a quick tour. So it's snug down there. This pipe is almost touching that pipe. So we got our drain, got our P-trap, and it's going to come around. So the water is going to be always filled up to here. That's to prevent gases and odors and critters from coming up from the city, from the drain. So that's going to be filled with water. I think that's called the weir. But anyway, let's not go too crazy here. So, and this is your vent. It goes straight up and it's going to tie back into there. Obviously it's a little high right now. We're going to drop that down. And this is going to go into the tailpiece from the sink. So it's going to fit in there somewhere. So let's keep going. We'll start gluing some parts up here. So we know we can glue this. That's not going to change. So let's glue that first. And you'll notice there's little tabs on the pipe. So there's little notches right here. And they go all the way around the pipe. So it really helps with lining things up so you know you're nice and level. So that's good. Next. You've got this tail piece here that's going to come down from the sink, and you've got this tail piece to ABS adapter. It's a nice tight fit. So anyway, that's the piece you'll need. Let's get our tail piece in for the sink, and like I said, I like to use some silicone. Let's use a little bit of clear silicone. And what I do is I just put a little bead around the collar. So let's put this into the sink here, and you know what? I'm going to put a little more on because the hole's a little bit bigger than I thought it would be. So we're going to get that right in its home. So the order for these things is gasket. So you're going to do gasket with the flared side up, and then you're going to do your washer and then the threaded nut. So I'm going to put these on there. The gasket, you'll want to work it up a little bit. Get it up to the spot where you need it, and then this is when I give it a little bead of silicone for good measure. So I'll just work it around. I'm just spinning it. And then I'll do the same on the threads. There we go. Just a little bead. So the silicone's gobbing out a little bit, so we're just going to use your finger and just wipe it off. So don't over tighten it where it's like almost impossible to pull on the pliers, but tighten it enough. So we'll clean up the silicone. We'll do the same on the top side. Top side's actually pretty good. There's a spot right here. I'll just clean it up a little bit before it sets up. You got, everything works. Okay. So now we've got this threaded piece. And this tail piece comes in different lengths and stuff like that. This is going to work just fine for me. I'm going to give this a quick bead of silicone as well, just to say it's all nice and sealed. Well, I find the water works its way into the hole on the side of the collar here and then runs its way down the threads. So it's not like as if I didn't put it in properly, it's working its way down the threads. So anyway, again, clean that silicone up, make it look nice and tidy. And now that portion's done. This piece here, I'm going to put on ahead of time. And I'm going to, you can have this all the way up here, you can have it down there, you can have it really, doesn't matter where it is in terms of height, it can be all the way up here if you want. And again, I'm going to measure into that collar of the pipe. It'd be easier if the shelf wasn't here, but so I'm going to cut mine at 11 inches. Let's get this glued up. Alright, so now our drain is hooked up. Make sure that's nice and tight. Usually just hand tighten it. Same thing with the P-trap on the bottom. You get your threaded little clean out cover, and then you got the big nut over here. So same thing, just hand tighten these guys. Now all that's left is the vent. And there you go. That's your drain system if you're draining through the floor of your vanity. Draining through the floor, venting through the wall. So drain down, picks up the sink, and you got your vent here going through the wall. Always remember, flows downhill. So you gotta have some slope on there and make sure you don't clog up your vent. So this is the other drain assembly I was talking about. This one it's a little harder to install. It's definitely not as clean and tidy. It doesn't have a clicker type. It's got the manual raise and lower the drain. Your bowl is here and your countertop comes up, and the spigot that's on the back of your faucet hooks into this thing. So when you pull up on that piece, it raises and lowers the drain. So it's just an extra mechanism to have to worry about. It's another susceptible spot for a leak, and they're kind of a pain in the butt, really. I don't like these. I don't like putting them on. As far as I'm concerned, it's junk. This is junk. This is garbage. So buy yourself an overflow, or buy yourself a drain and tailpiece with the clicker. Easier to install, looks nicer, all around better. So it's garbage. That's good. Hopefully by this point you've subscribed to the channel, and if you haven't, good to go.